All right, welcome to week 2 of the launch. We're going to do 6 weeks of business mentoring as you launch your business in doTERRA. The first week, if you remember, we talked all about preparing. Arguably the most important thing that you could do in your business is to actually be prepared for movement forward. But I'm going to, you might find myself saying that every single week, because now this week we're talking about inviting. And I think it's arguably the most important part of your launching your business. And so I'm going to remind you here, the intention behind these 6 weeks are just to walk you through the most impactful income producing business building activities. And we're using the acronym PIPES to do that. So last week was present. This week is about inviting. So we're moving forward, right? We're taking action. And so I love this quote that was shared to me by my upline. It says, in any given moment, we have 2 options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. Does anybody resonate with that really deeply like I do? Because I find my brain actually thinking those thoughts. It's at this moment that I can step forward into growth or I can step back into safety. I actually have had a lot on my schedule this week because I'm shortening it up. I have friends in town, and so we're hanging out tomorrow. So if you get all done in one week, and as I was driving home yesterday, I felt exhausted. And I don't know what caught me, but I was looking at the apartments as I was driving home, and I thought, there are moments in my life where I think maybe it would be easier to just have a 9 to 5 clock in, click out, and go home and sit on my balcony in my apartment with a Diet Coke like I used to drink, with my feet up, and like be able to just like walk away from my job completely, right? Sometimes I even think that that feels better, to step back into that safety, right? And then I remember I have to like bring myself forward and think, what is my life actually like right now with doTERRA at the head of it, and it's free. And yeah, I have lots of things that I could always be doing in my business to move forward, but I'm going to go out to eat with friends who are in town tomorrow, and we're going to play all day long. And I was just thinking about, there's a new restaurant in town and it's always super full. And so they were asking for my best recommendations, and I'm like, we'll never get in. I thought, well, yeah, we will, because we're going to go on Thursday at 5 o'clock when everyone else is working, because we're self-employed. It was just this tiny little piece of like, oh, that's freedom. That's actually more exciting for me to push forward into growth day after day, week after week, to create my own future, my own desire, my own passions, than to step back into safety, what society wants us to feel like is easier, right? And so there's going to be some fear in this week. There just is, because you're going to start doing some action that you likely have never taken before. And so I want to help you reframe the fear. I rewatched this video today. I've seen it before. Hopefully it'll pop up super slick for me here, and you all will still be able to see it. Let's see, here it comes.
I've been getting paid $1,000 a month, if not more.
This is not a video of me. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Pearson, and today's segment is one that I am super passionate about sharing with you, because it's the biggie in the room that often gets in the way of people taking more action, of putting themselves out there, of growing their sales. It's why often you are probably playing small, and that has everything to do with the fear of rejection. When I speak to all different kinds of groups and audiences, and we're talking about sales and growth and success, and I ask them, I say, what gets in our way? Why don't we take more action? Why don't we put ourselves out there? Why don't we ask for the sale? And often it's because of this fear, the fear of rejection. I would like to say that this fear is running so much of all the other fears, right? We might rattle off several fears: fear of success, fear of failure, and so forth. But most of our fears live in the same camp, which sounds something like, what will other people think of me? And therefore, fear of rejection, of the aspect of that, can be what gets in our way. You've probably felt it too. Think about it in your life. What's one of the big reasons why you play small? And at some level, likely you also get stuck in the fear of rejection. So I want to share with you a few gems today that can perhaps help you navigate that fear in a different way. But it's normal as humans. Humans, we have similar needs, right? And feeling approved of, feeling like we belong, feeling accepted is up for every single one of us. It's up for me, it's up for you, it's up for anyone you know. but it's just becoming aware of how much that might be running your show. And often our fear of rejection is bigger than the reality of it, right? We have a whole story around it, or we have all of these feelings and so forth. Is we don't want to be pushy. We don't want to get it wrong. We don't want to not be included. We want those things. We want inclusion. We want approval and so forth. And again, while the needs aren't wrong, it's keeping them in check. Is likely your fear of it is bigger than the reality of it. Every single one of us has been rejected at some point or another. But as one of my early mentors would say to me, I want you to reframe rejection. Is just seeing it in a different light is all that is required. I've been rejected, you've been rejected, and we both lived through it. So perhaps it's just how we reframe it. Let's talk about 3 things you can do to help you navigate when that fear of rejection comes up for you, when you're on the cusp of maybe clicking publish on that new blog post or that project you've been working on, or you're wanting to pick up the phone and contact those prospects or that client or that friend, or you're wanting to put yourself out there in any which way, and you're feeling that fear creep up. So let's talk about it. Number 1, to help support you, is to anchor back to purpose, right? Is often, again, this rejection is this huge story. It's heavily often an ego as well. Let's come back to purpose, and the purpose of why are you doing what you're doing? For instance, if you're in business for yourself and your goals there is, what is it that you're choosing to do, and that how you want to serve and show up and so forth, is coming back to your purpose and being anchored in your purpose. So ask yourself, what helps me anchor to my purpose? What helps me stay from that place and that experience versus being so focused on, are they going to like me? Are they going to accept it? Are they going to judge me? And all of that negative fear talk. Number 2, one of the most powerful, palpable ways to overcome any fear, I believe, is this one, is to show up to serve. I know for myself, different times before I get on a stage, before I speak, before I got on this set here to record this video for you, is I got anchored into prayer for myself. And some of you, that's prayer or intention, but made the intention to say, I'm going to show up to serve. And you make it about them. You show up to serve them, to be of value, to add that value, to ask better questions, to say, I'm here to add the value. I'm here to be of service. That will help take the focus off yourself and put it onto them. And it'll naturally help you eliminate some of that fear that comes up for you. And number 3, I want to say this to you, is simply manage your mindset, right? Is often fear is just a story that we've given too much life and too much energy to. And to come back to keep it managed, remind yourself, hey, I'll live through it. Remind yourself, hey, I'm here to be of service. That you have your own back, right? Is that your goals, they deserve to have a space to be born and to be given life to. So the things that matter to you, have your own back. Manage that mindset. Again, likely your fear of rejection has just become a big story versus the actual reality of it. I love this one. May I wrap with one of my favorite teachings of all time that I think can help support you, that's made a big difference to me. What I call the 4 SWs. Some of you may have heard this before. Those 4 SWs stand for some will, some won't, so what? Someone is waiting, right? Remind yourself of that principle for yourself. Is the reality is, as you share more of who you are and what you're up to, more people can find you, more people can say yes to you, more people can be connected to your vision, purpose, or platform. And some won't, or at least not right now. So what? Someone's waiting. I absolutely love this principle. I cheer you on in the pursuit of your goals and your dreams. Take the action, put yourself out there. You'll live right through whatever those fears might be. I'm cheering you on in that process. If this segment resonates with you, I invite you to share it with your friends. Tag me, comment on it. You're also welcome to join me on my website at tiffanyspeaks.com, where we can stay connected. There's lots of tools and resources for you there. But I look forward to staying connected with you as we grow together.
Cool. Man, I love that. And what I love most about it is that she started with knowing your purpose, which is exactly what we talked about last week. We called it know why you're selling, but it's the same concept. I've heard the SWs before, but I've never heard that last line. Did you guys catch that? Some will, some won't. So what? Kind of feels like a so what someone's waiting. I like, that last line really changes everything, doesn't it? So let's jump back here and finish up. I hope that that was helpful for you. And if you want to reference that call or that video again, as you're reaching out and sampling this week, I think that you should. So inviting is the most important work you'll do. Here we go. I said it again. And so I wanted to give you some tips for inviting because I really see new people in the business struggle in this area. And so here's 4 of them. The first is that you've got to formally ask. When we're inviting, emails and social posts don't count. It doesn't mean that you can't do that. Those are just like, I just think of those as the huge net that just kind of casts out at the very end. Let's just see if there's anything else we can get. That's just bonus on the top of the actual inviting work that you're doing. And so when you're reaching out and asking, it's one-on-one, it's never in a group message, never send a group message inviting. Don't get into Messenger and do groups. That does not work and it turns people off. But your personal one-on-one invitation can be through text, it can be through phone call, it can be one-on-one. It's most important that you're doing it in the way you already always communicate with that person. Think about it as if you're inviting them to your birthday party. How would you invite them? Would you send them a text? Would you give them a call? Would you talk to them in person? If you're in an office setting and you're going to invite your coworker who has the desk next to you and you work next to them all day long, and then you send them a text at 5:15, that's weird, y'all. Unless you're literally not supposed to talk to them ever about anything, even the weather when you're at work, maybe, but you should be inviting those types of people in person because that's how you always communicate with them. If you have a best friend that you always text anytime you want to catch up, that would be the way that I would reach out. So formally ask means that you're ending all of your communication with them with a question mark, whether I'm talking in person or I'm on the phone or I'm sending a text, I'm ending with what I want them to respond to. If there's a period at the end of your invitation, then you cannot expect them to reply back because you didn't ask them to. So make sure that you do. It could be as simple as, can you come? But it has to be a question at the end. And then be clear on why they need to be there. It's not because you're having an event, that doesn't matter to them, right? You have to create some urgency for them to be there. Why does what you're inviting them to benefit them? Now, if you've gone through the sampling process with your customer, then it's pretty obvious why they need to be there, right? They've had an amazing result, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that could benefit you in this area of health that you're pursuing. But realize that not every event is for everyone. This is also a mistake I see very, very common. We get started and we're very excited about everything that we're doing, and there is a lot of opportunity, and we're like, well, they'll like something on the list, right? So I just text them all of the class options for the whole month. That doesn't work because it's not clear on why they need to be there at that event. And so there's so many things that people can be involved in, and they likely will have to say no to 1 to 2 other events to attend yours. So I just had an event last night and I had 2 people show and 2 people that didn't. And the reason that they didn't is because they had other things that they decided to go to over my event. And I can look back on the process of inviting and the sampling or lack thereof, and I can see exactly why the people who showed did and the ones who didn't. The ones that didn't because of the clarity on why they would benefit from being at my event versus what they did decide to say yes to. And so is it worth it? Do you bring the value to the events? Is there an interaction that's fun, that's helpful, that's useful? Do they leave receiving value? And then check your excitement. Do not start inviting because it's just something on your list or announcing that you're working on a new class series or whatever until you're clear on the value that you're providing and you have enough clarity that you're genuinely excited yourself about what you're putting together. Because I don't care if you're texting or emailing or posting or calling or talking in person, if you are not excited about it, you will never convince me that it is worth coming. Okay. And then transfer the belief to your team. Now, this is helpful if you have belief in your top 5. Because you believe things very deeply and it's easy to transfer. If you don't, this might be something you have to work on or rely on people who have it higher in their in their skills on your team. But this is regarding your builders and sharers. If you want them to be excited about the event, they have to have clarity on the value that's going to happen. And remember, it's like now it's third party. So they're hearing it from you, and then it gets to the customer. Like, it has to go through multiple people. There has to be massive belief transferred for it to be transferred again to the customer to actually show up. So you're going to need oils to do this. You're going to need some belief building, activating oils to make this happen. Blue Tansy is the oil of inspired action. At my retreat, we made a magnetic blend. I am magnetic, and it had Blue Tansy, bergamot, wild orange. Those are some amazing oils that can be belief building. So use them as you do this process. And then one of the most important things as you're inviting, sometimes this gets overlooked, but organizing your contacts and keeping track of where you left off on those conversations, and being sure that you have a place to list any additional information that helps you help them more effectively. If they so I just met a lady last night who came to my event, found out she's actually lost 97 pounds in the last year. She's working with a trainer at a local fitness club here. That's really valuable information. She came to a pets class. But if I don't write down that information, that's actually likely going to move her forward, knowing that doTERRA has solutions for that goal in her life, maybe more than even her dog who needs some help with a urinary tract infection or whatever it was. Okay. So that's the kind of information I'm talking about, information that they're giving you that helps you help them more effectively. And so a lot of people just have a planner and they write down the day they reached out, and then they move ahead 2 days and they write contact Judy again. And then, after they do that, they'll go 2 days out and they'll write contact Judy. So it's a list on their planner. I know that some people just use notebooks. I thought this was a genius idea that Amber had shared with us a while back. She has one page in a notebook per person that she's reaching out to. So she has a ton of room, because obviously you're going to be in communication with them for a long time, hopefully forever. So it's not going to end after they enroll, because then the next level of influence you have over them is getting them to continuing education, right? And oil camp, and getting on LRP, and then becoming a sharer and hopefully a builder. And you're going to need to keep track of that valuable information as it goes. You might find out that they have a daughter that lives in Montana that has considered using oils. You got to write that down so that when you follow back up, those are conversations you can have to help her move into sharing. So a notebook is a great idea. I have a Live Naturally Tools guide. I don't have it up here, but Live Naturally Tools sells their business planning guides. Oh, I really thought I did. I was going to share it with you guys. Here it is. It's called a business organizer from livenaturallytools.com. Actually, now it's oillife.com, but you can find it there. This is spendier, but it's pretty, and I can keep track of all of my leads here. I can put down all of their name, the samples given, their needs, some notes, and then it has a check mark if I've sampled them, invited them, reminded them, gotten them to a class, helped them enroll. And then once they're enrolled, I have a check mark for a 30-day follow-up, 60-day follow-up, 6-month follow-up, 1-year follow-up. Have they had a membership consult? Have they had a business consult? So if you need some guidance, maybe something like that would be helpful for you. And then I just think this is a principle that you should keep at the forefront of your mind as you're inviting. You're not moving into your contact list to try to convince anyone towards essential oils. You're trying to learn. And so when you're contacting, be thinking, what can I learn about this person in this conversation to see if there's a way for me to add value to their life? So for initial contacting, man, so many of us mess this up, and we have to learn the hard way by turning people off, because we go into it really nervous that we're going to be salesy. And so then we do all the things that are actually the most salesy, thinking that we're trying to avoid being salesy. I promise you. So trust me in this. Okay. This is a process that has been refined over years and years, and dates all the way back to mentors from a decade ago that are encouraging you. This is actually a little bit from a sales training that I recently received in Utah. But when you're initially reaching out, follow the guidelines through the daily mentor calls, of course, but focus on trying to learn. And so notice that these are all questions, and they all encourage curiosity. So I'm curious, are you open to learning about essential oils? Are you open to trying my favorite essential oil? Are you open to trying something for the headaches that you've posted about before, or that you've told me about before? I'm wondering, have you ever tried essential oils before? I'm wondering, have you ever been invited to a class? I'm wondering, have you ever cleansed before? If you could have a natural solution in your home, home for earaches or ear infections for your kiddo? Would you be open to learning more about that? Would you be open to trying it for 8 days during an essential oil study we have coming up, right? What do you think about, I don't know, whatever you're inviting towards? What has been your experience? Everyone loves to share their experience. And so how can I learn more about this person to engage in a conversation that can move forward towards a sample or towards a class? So I hope those are helpful. And then remember that reminders are essential. I know that you're thinking about it all day long, right? Your class tonight. They're not. I promise you, they're not, because they're not teaching it and putting it together. They're not cleaning their home, whatever. They're just not thinking about it. It's not that they don't care and that they don't want to be there. They're just not going to have it at top of mind. And so that's your job. So that's why we do a 2-day reminder and a 2-hour reminder. But I want to encourage you to not start with this. Just sending a reminder about tonight, not effective. That feels naggy, right? And it doesn't actually move them forward. So when you follow up with these reminders, add value, add information that they'll need to know to have the best experience at your class. I used to give them all that information in the first contact. They said they're interested in coming, and I tell them the date, time, location, what we're going to be going over, the freebies that they're going to leave with, where to park, how to get into the building, like everything. And then I realized that when I was following up, all I had left to say was, just sending a reminder, because I've already told you everything. And so I am intentional about forgetting things, I know I'm going to eventually tell them what time, what location, that they should park in the front and walk up the stairs, that my door is the first of the last door on the left, that they can park in my driveway, that the whatever, like all of those things, right? That it's only going to be 45 minutes, that I have treats made. I never tell them I'm going to have treats until like 2 hours before. That would be the only time if you're going to have treats. Like, it's those kind of things, right? And so that's what the reminders are all about, adding value and information that they'll need to know to have the best experience, because that sounds way more professional than just sending a reminder. And then follow-ups, when you're following up with people, not everyone can come to the classes that you're hosting or are not ready for a sample or whatever. That doesn't mean that we just cross them off the list, right? It means that they need more follow-up. But remember, follow-ups must start with something new that is either useful, valuable, or interesting. So it might be a new product, like, I don't know, in September, like maybe around September 15th, potentially. It might be a success story that you've recently had. When you teach a class, either make mental notes or write down the testimonials that people are sharing there and use those as ways to follow up. Hey, I know you weren't able to make the class last night. A lady, I just wanted to, I learned something a lady shared with me at the class. I think you would find valuable. Sorry, this is my script at the bottom. Since we last talked, I learned something I think you will find valuable. Susan said she's been using oregano with her chickens or whatever, and you teach them what you learned from that testimonial. That's a success story. Or maybe an article you've read. Sometimes it can be promotions, but I find a lot of builders only follow up when there is a promotion, and that really shouldn't be the only time you follow up, because that is number one salesy. I know a lot of direct selling that you only hear from them when there's a sale, right? And while we like sales, it actually doesn't add as much value as we think, because I don't care if it's free. If I don't know how to use it, or I don't know how it's going to benefit my life, I'm not really interested in the time that it's going to take to go through and make that purchase or receive the product. Does that make sense? Okay, that was kind of a lot. You can go back and reference this call, but I think all of that will be very information. The reason it feels like a lot to me is because that's literally 7 years of learning that I just put in a slide deck for you guys regarding inviting. And we've all struggled through this because we've had to kind of figure it out on our own. So I hope that as you're launching your business, you can trust the process and trust me and your mentors to help you move forward, because I think you're going to get faster results than we did and better results when you do it effectively, like we're talking about this week. So here's your assignment and your challenge. Contact 10 to 15 people this week and next week. So that would actually be 20 to 30 in the next 2 weeks, right? Because we're going to have classes starting to come up. We've got to get moving on this inviting. So that might be 1 to 2 people a day, depending on how many days a week you've decided to invest in doTERRA. But did you know that you can probably get all of that contacting done in probably 20 minutes? It really, I could contact 10 to 15 people if I had my plan, my list, my plan of action in front of me. You could do that in 20 minutes. So that sounds like maybe a big number to you. That is not very much time. The time is in the preparation. The contacting takes very little time, but it takes focused time. So determine if a sample is best or you're inviting directly to a class, and then follow that contact all the way through to them showing up. And if necessary, you can review mentor calls 5 through 15. That will walk you through contacting and following up all the way through, even if they don't show to the class what to say. So here's my challenge. There's a 2-minute video here. Let's see if I can copy this link address and throw it in the chat for you. But this is seriously just 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes, and it will help you understand how to move forward and fight through some limiting beliefs. And so once you're finished with that, then I want you to write down 5 affirmations of what you can do, because you likely have a list of all the things you can't do or that you won't be good at or that won't work. You're telling your brain what won't work. And I want your brain to hear what you can do, what will work, and why you will be successful this week in the effort that you push forward. So here's your self-development quote for today, and encouragement to look into this book called Go Pro. It's written by Eric Warway. I have one copy here if you need it. I can get it to you. Otherwise, it's like $10 online. You can get it on Audible as well. But Eric is the author of GoPro. He is one of the most widely known network marketing gurus. Lots and lots of businesses and companies that he's been a part of over his years. He says, I realized that to earn more, I needed to become more. Financial freedom is possible, but it isn't free. My world changed when I started focusing on the skills and made the commitment to practice until I mastered them. And so that's what this is about. You might say something wrong this week. Okay, so what? Learn from it, skill up, move on, practice until you master them, okay? So that's this week. Next week, we're gonna talk about presenting. We're gonna move along in our acronym, and that's it. What are your questions?